Thinking car audio. Tune in, tune in, tune in, tune in. This week in car audio. Tune in, tune in, tune in. We'll be talking about bass, talking about chips, talking about rings. You ain't got them, zip your lip. You got a problem you haven't found, check your grounds. The show about to start. Tune in, 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 tune in. This week in car audio. Yeah. Tune in. This week in car audio.
Welcome to This Week in Car Audio with your host, Doug Stockton the Judge, and your co-host, Jeffrey Fernandez.
Car Audio with your host.
Oh, it is me. No, it isn't me. Somebody's got it playing in the background. And I don't know who it is. Somebody's got needs to turn their thing down. All right, guys. Hey, welcome this week. We're going to do something a little different here. Let me finish getting this thing set up. But this week we are going to... Oh, yeah, I was going to turn on my light here. Make me look more bright and special. We are going to have a rules discussion. So let me share this to my Facebook, or sorry, not my Facebook, but the pop-out chat. There we go. All right, let me share this to DB Drag. Jeffrey, how was your weekend, sir?
Oh, it was good. It was kind of long, but it was pretty fun.
How was your turkey day?
Oh, it was good. Spent it with the in-laws in what they call Deep East Texas.
Deep East. So
I thought that's just what they would call it, but I guess that's really the term for where they are in Texas, is Deep East Texas. I heard the newscasters talk about it. I'm like, oh, okay, I guess that's what it's called.
I guess that's where you're at.
It was quaint. It was fun. It was nice. Of course, the weekend, a couple of days after Turkey Day, I did the Audio Olympics 2022 event down there in Houston, Texas, which was really fun. It was a 2-day event. I don't host too many 2-day events, so this was kind of cool. I should do more of them often because it just seemed like it was more laid back and relaxed. You know, we had people qualify on day one, and not have to worry about bracketing till the following day on Sunday, which made it kind of cool, and kind of stretched the day out. Gave myself and a lot of the competitors time to check out other features of the event, and it's really cool overall. A fun time. Wish we could have Paul talk about it, but he had a lot of stuff going on. Audible Carnage was there, another organization, Sound Off organization. He also had a demo competition where he had Chris Kyle, also known as Mr. 15 Hertz, a friend of the show. He's been on the show. He was the one who was in charge of judging the demo portion of the event, and man, those guys, they try to kill that guy in their vehicles. They were turning it up full blast, turning it up really low, really high frequencies, and all for bragging rights and a huge trophy that they gave out at the end.
That's cool.
Yep.
So our guest speakers this tonight is Tennessee bass racer Mr. Chris Gregory, and Rob Kollar, Mr. I'm loud as hell. I mean, not as loud as his teammate, but he's loud as hell. All right. How was yours, Mr. Gregory? How was your turkey day?
Oh, fabulous. Spend it with the family. That's what it's all about.
That's cool. Do you have the Tennessee bass races over there?
I mean, we actually finished up our Toys for Tots event and are taking a little bit of a break, letting everybody spend time with the families and all that stuff. Bunch of us all get together for a little bit of, feasting and stuff next weekend.
Okay.
But other than that, we're kind of on a break.
Awesome. And how about you, Mr. Rob? How was your Thanksgiving and all that stuff?
It was pretty good. We went and spent it. We don't have no family down here per se, but we got family. The friends family type of
Right.
people, but we went there and spent the day with them and a bunch of people. It was good. It was good. So,
Okay. I think I got DB Drag on here. Did I miss it? I just want to make sure I'm live on the DB Drag site. There we go. I'm gonna hit that one more time just in case. All right. So guys, people watching this, first off, I want to thank our sponsors once again. We have Pun Customs out of Minnesota. We have Lots of Watts Apparel. We have Crossfire Car Audio, Stolman Transportation LLC. If you guys want to support us, also support the people that support what you like to watch. All right, guys, so this is what I need from our spectators today. We are live on Facebook and YouTube both, so share, like, do all that stuff. We appreciate that. So here's what the spectators are supposed to give us today. We need to know from you guys what classes or what rules you would like to change. And then Jeffrey, myself, Chris, and Rob will discuss those rule changes and see if they may be a good fit for DB Drag or they were not. Hopefully the goal today is to come up with a gem that we can probably even present to Wayne as one of our upcoming rule changes. So Chris had a suggestion right before we came on live, and I said, hey, hold that till we get going. So let's talk about, kind of present to us what your suggestion is, Mr. Gregory.
Well, I've always been about growth because at the end of the day, I mean, I'm tapping on 50 years old, and my wife keeps telling me I can't keep doing this forever. And we have to bring in new people.
Yep.
I mean, it's awesome to see, the veterans continually competing and supporting the format. But if we don't get the new guys in and coming up and playing, it's going to dry up quick. So Street Stock 1K was definitely designed for that. And if I remember correctly, I could be wrong. I think it was a full bracket this year at finals. One of the few SBL classes that actually had a full bracket. So I was very happy about that because it's a format that I've been pushing and, definitely trying to get people involved in. And so one of the rules of has always been that if you are compete in Street Stock 1K at finals and you win it,
that's correct. Well, any of the Street
no
Stock classes.
You're no longer allowed to compete in the class.
Correct.
So the more I think about it, the more what I would also like to see is an addition to that rule of removing also qualifications for that class if you're a world record holder. Because at the end of the day, if you've achieved a world record in a class like that, you're no longer a beginner. You're no longer the guy that's just starting out.
Okay.
You're somebody.
Okay. So what I see Rob nodding his head with the no. Okay. What's your counter argument with that, Rob?
Good ideas, but the problem is you can't do that. 5 shows, you're the loudest so far. You're a world record holder. Now you don't have to qualify for DB Drag Finals.
Oh no, sir.
Are you talking about at the end of the year? You're still
yeah. At the end of the year, say Joe Blow. At the end of the year, he goes to he's already set the world record for Street Stock 1K, say 6 months into the season.
Right.
So, but he doesn't win finals.
So basically what he's saying is if we have finals out in, where were we this year? In Kentucky. Owensboro, Kentucky. And Jose Ramos out here in California went out there. He went to Street Stock 1K. He did a 160.2. He owns World Finals by 1 dB, right? I mean, there's nobody even going to touch him, right? But instead of him going to World Finals, he chooses to stay home, didn't compete, yet he has the world record, and he can always say, hey, I would have won World Finals if I went there. So your suggestion is at the end of the season, there would be 2 people for each class potentially that would have to move up and could not stay in that class. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah, that's kind of my opinion on it, because once again, it's hard. I mean, it's hard enough to get people. I mean, I know that I don't know how I know your shows are very successful in your area,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm still building, and I don't know, Rob, down in Florida, how much, I know you guys are kind of still building up, the area, and it's hard to get people in the lanes, but it's definitely hard to get somebody into the lanes. The 1K guy, and here comes the world champion. May not be it's the world record holder, and it stops somebody by 4 or 5 dB.
Right.
That guy's not going to come back, especially to a format that supposedly is supposed to be an introductory class. I mean, I've still talked with Wayne multiple years about trying to keep 1K a little under control. I mean, It's still tough in my opinion, to say that a 1K class should be, a $5,000 or $10,000 investment. That's kind of what it's become.
Right.
So, but still, it's just something I thought about. It may not work. It may be a bad idea.
Oh,
but it's just an idea that I was thinking about.
Hey, we're floating ideas. Rob, what are your thoughts on that?
I kind of agree with him on the you need to keep something open. If you have somebody who's running street stock 1K 5 years in a row that's just dominating every year, and nobody's getting close to him, it's supposed to be a beginner's class. Let's make it a beginner's class.
Okay, Jeffrey, your thoughts on that?
I agree. It almost seems like I kind of want to bring back the term amateur, how you don't, you're new at it. Once you start doing world records and world championships, you're no longer an amateur. You're practically a professional now. So, I mean, I agree with having to move up. But it's going to be difficult to, after they move up to bring more people in. We kind of have to work almost backwards, having to work that in before we start moving people up.
So I'm going to be kind of the dissenter on this thing. So here's the issue with it. Do we move up the car? Do we move up the person? Do we move up the person's family? Because whenever there's a carrot, people always are going to try and get that carrot. So,
yep.
And I'm using Rob as an example. By no way do I believe or even suggesting that he would go this route. I don't believe he would, but I'm using him as an example. So Rob goes and just smashes 1K this year. And he goes, hell yeah, watch this. I'm getting it next year. Hey, honey, come on over here. You are now the 1K. And he just hands her the car.
Yeah. I think you're right. Car and person need to move up.
Mm-hmm.
But
I agree with that 100%.
So you guys see what the issue is, right?
Yeah.
And then at the
100%.
same token, and this is kind of where me and some of the other judges in our discussions, because, I mean, we have discussions all the time. We try to have them as frequently as we can, and we're very frank with each other on what we believe and whatnot, right, as judges. We're not going to try and get into that too much in here, but I will say where we disagree on this is, so the argument is also, not only that, can you give it to your wife now or your kid or whatever. The thing is now Rob is a badass professional street stock 1K builder. I mean, he world record holder. He knows what he's doing. Now, that doesn't mean Jeffrey can't go to him and say, hey, I need me a 1K car, and have Rob build it for him. But so my thoughts on that is, I don't give a rat's butt if somebody does that, because that's bringing somebody new into it, is my thought process. And
that's all I'm looking for, is just to bring new people into the sport.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And so I will tell you right away that is not anything that even was discussed with the judges. So that's one of the things that we could potentially bring to Wayne Harris, which is ultimately our goal tonight, is to come up with maybe a handful of ideas that Jeffrey and I can, when we have our rules discussion, I think we're planning for one later in the week or something, Jeffrey, maybe?
I think so. Yeah.
I think Wayne wants to talk about it. So we're trying to knock out rules so then we can work on the World Finals venues and get all this stuff knocked out before the end of the year. Rules we really want to get knocked out. We're hoping to knock them out in the next week or two. So just so you guys know. And anything that's discussed here tonight, Wayne wanted me to make this very clear, is all hypothetical. And these are just things we can discuss as a group and have a civil discord and maybe come up with some great ideas, because obviously Rob and Greg are coming from a different position. Gregory is coming from a different position than Jeffrey and myself. You guys are competitors. Yes, you guys are trying to put shows on, but you guys are building cars. You guys are part of teams putting together cars. Jeffrey and I are looking from the outside in at that. So hopefully together we can come up with something that's most beneficial to everybody in DB Drag. And that's really the goal of tonight. So if you guys have questions or suggestions, class changes possibly, then hey, let's bring that up and we'll discuss that. So I would say our number one, I think we got something we can go to Wayne with. Move up the person and the vehicle. I will tell you, we'll get a lot of pushback from a lot of judges because the vehicle's different. Because if somebody paints it, how do we know it's the same vehicle? Then we got to keep track of the VIN. That part we will get a lot of pushback on.
And it will be tough.
And I don't think that's going to be doable realistically for what we're going for in DB Drag. Remember, we want to make the shows still need to be fun. We don't want to be intrusive as judges. We want you to have fun, but we need it to be fair as possible. And if our rule book is 500 pages long, it's going to take us 7 hours to do a 30-car event, right? And that's not fun for anybody. So, all right. So the next question I see on here is from Spencer Staniland. All Super Street cars, trucks, vans, etc. only wood, no steel in builds, B-pillar back. Rob, go at it.
No steel, huh?
Yeah, that's no disrespect, but that's the dumbest thing I've heard. You can't do that. I mean, everybody has almost everybody, except for Derek Haddock and Patrick Lisner. Those
RP.
guys I know don't have steel.
RP
but I
does.
also know that they're fixing to.
Yeah.
They're fixing to. But you can't do that. Everybody would have to rebuild, and to be honest with you, I'm 55 years old. I'm old. I am not rebuilding another vehicle. I just sit and retire and sit here and watch you on Monday night because.
Plus, have you seen the price of wood nowadays? Steel's just cheaper.
Wow, yeah, that's a good argument.
Yeah, it's everything's expensive. It's not feasible. I mean, there is things with the Super Street vehicles that I agree that needs to change. I agree with that. I think we've gotten out of hand with the Deadner. My personal opinion.
We'll get to that. Bo Boren says it's called Super Street for a reason. Either be super or go to street.
That's my Bo. That's my boy.
Well,
yes.
Can we throw this out there real quick for
Sure.
Spencer? I think was the name.
Yeah, Spencer.
So Spencer is the reasoning for your question more about trying to build an entry-level wall class, which is what Pro Stock 5K wall was originally set to be. Is that the reasoning behind your question? Is trying to find something that's more on the, I guess I don't want to say budget-friendly side, but definitely something to where it's not super street.
So that now realistically, that is a class. That is a rule that can be in place for the pro stock class. And right here, he said yes. So you were right on that, Chris, with your thought. So yeah. So I mean, that's realistically, when you go to Pro Street, No Limit or Pro Street Wall. See, Pro Street Wall or Street Stock Wall. What is it? It's Pro Street Wall,
Pro
right?
stock.
Pro
Yeah,
Stock
Pro
Wall.
Street, it's Pro Stock 5K wall.
Yeah, so Pro Stock 5K Wall, that is a reasonable restriction to put on that class. And Bo Bourne says bring back old day Street Max. I will tell you, Bo, that's not out of the question. So
Street Max, I don't know if it would be almost fair nowadays, only because the creation of lithium almost makes Street Max hard because, I mean, you can take these, I mean, this is a C-Max cell that can support almost a 20K burp.
yeah. So
I mean,
so Joe Mullen pops in and says, please don't tell Chris he's correct. So,
see, I get love from my group. Love from my group, let me tell you.
yeah. So in all reality, the idea of the Pro Stock Wall 5K class is a transition class from Street Stock to Super Street. That's the intent of the class.
Mm-hmm.
So I do know in our talks, like I said, we've had tons of talks. I don't know where it sits now, but I do want to go real quick back to the you're moving your class. You no longer do the stock 1K. One of the things put out by one of the judges, and I swear to you, I don't know where it's at within the rule, or because we're kind of polling each other to see how we feel about stuff. But one of the things that was floated out there was if you win 1K, you move up to 2K at minimum. So you can never go down in class once you've won it. You can only go up to Super Street No Wall, and then at Super Street No Wall, you can be there forever. And that's one of the things, and I don't know which judge and whatnot, but that was absolutely one of the things that was floated by one of the judges, and I thought that was a actually really good idea. Jeffrey, any opinions on that?
On what specifically?
Is that they have to move up class. So say they win Pro Stock 1K, they could still compete in 2K, but you can never go back. So if you win 2K, you can't go down to 1K.
Well, and I think that's why we kind of categorized there's street stock and then pro stock.
Right.
So, you're done with street stock, you can move up to pro stock. It's not really going to be hurtful for you in the wallet just going to pro stock as opposed to going to super street. So, I mean, there really shouldn't be too much argument, especially now because we only have one street stock class, that you can't do that particular class. So you would have to move on to either pro stock or a super street class. So, I mean, it makes sense. But
what about moving through pro stock at the same, in the same
So
clip?
You're saying if you were to win
pro stock 5K
2K
or 2K,
okay,
right?
Yeah, and then you were okay.
Or so 5K trunk. So 5K.
Okay.
So you did 5K.
So you won 5K trunk, and then you're saying
you couldn't go back down to 2K.
To 2K.
Right, but you could have to do 5K wall, or you can do pro stock no limit from there.
I think within their category, within that specific category of pro stock, you could move wherever you would want to. You just
up
can't
or down?
Move down. Yes, up or down in the pro stock category, but you definitely cannot go to street stock.
Okay, what's your thoughts, Rob?
On that?
Yeah, I like the fact that once you're done with street stock, you go to pro and be done. If you win finals, you need to move up anyways. I mean, that's the way it used to be back in the day. A lot of times, if you was worked for a shop, owned a shop, you had to play in the pro categories.
Right.
So, I mean, I think it's a good start, but it also, people see other people winning this thing 2, 3, 4 times in a row.
Right.
And they get discouraged. So if they win and they have to move up, guess what? That opens up a hole and keeps people motivated. So, and then it also helps people get, maybe go on to bigger goals to get somewhere, So we figure the end goal would be something to be like, Super Street or even a extreme vehicle.
So what's your thought on say somebody wins 5K, and would you be okay with them playing in 1K 2K the next year? It's a different class, like Jeffrey was saying. It's a different class, but in my view, or if you look at the scale of classes, 2K's a lower class than 5K. So what are your thoughts there?
I think in those classes, maybe make them all. You win one, you're done.
And you move automatically to Super Street?
No, move. If you're a 5K, move down to 2K. Okay, you won both of those.
So you're saying they can move within any one, but they can only win one once.
Yep. After that, it's time to start. We need to get these people. We start somewhere, just like all of us did. Every one of us started with a couple 10s or 12s in our vehicle, and now look what we're doing. So we all started somewheres. We need to help this generation understand that we can't keep playing. And money's tight, but you can be creative. You can be competitive and not spend a fortune.
Yes, you can. Chris, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, I think I can kind of grasp why this rule was brought up, and it simply put is there's a few vehicles out there that more or less have been dominating the Pro Stock 2K, the Pro Stock 5K classes for multiple seasons. And these vehicles just continually run those particular classes under those particular competitors. And at the end of the day, it's just kind of getting to a point where we're starting to see a lot of those vehicles getting phased out, and we're starting to see more of the Ford Explorers, the street stock 1K guys that are moving up. And it's just a challenge for any particular vehicle to say, Sam Dunn, very good competitor, broke out at finals, but he still set the world record with 152 decibels on 1,000 watts and a street-driven vehicle that rolled there. Now, you throw him another 1,000 watts, but he moves up to that Pro Stock class. Here comes that Panda. Here comes that Marbella from Europe. And it's going to, and then like Rob said, I mean, we all start somewhere, but those cars are like, it's like playing Mario Brothers and getting the God code.
I don't agree.
Tell them about it, Rob.
That's why we stuck. That's why me and Gorman stuck with American vehicles to show that the Pandas, the Marbellas, the Terras can be beat. Yeah, I got beat this year by a Terra, but I tell you what, it was a lot closer than they thought it was going to be, and it will be closer this year. So hopefully, and much respect to them, but they hopefully they stay in my class. But those foreign cars can be beat. I can tell you that.
Bubba Trolls just chimed in. Pandas can be beat. So
yes, they can be.
So here's
but at the end of the day, I agree with what you're saying as far as if you win 2K, go to 5K. Don't sit around in 2K for 4 years.
Exactly.
Right.
So
I think we're in agreement. If you win a class, you can no longer be in that class. Now we differ a little bit in you. I believe all three of you are saying that they can play within that same division, the Pro Stock division. They just can't be in the same class.
I agree with that. I like that.
Okay. So, I mean, that's, like I said, I disagree with that because I want to see them move up to the next class. That's just me. Up to Super Street No Wall. At Super Street No Walls, I actually think it probably Pro Stock No Limit would be, because I think that should be an open class essentially. For Pro Stock No Limit. That's my opinion.
I agree with what you're saying, but at the end of the day, not everybody's on that baller budget. And we all know that jump from 5K Pro Stock 5K to Super Street No Wall, it's a huge dollar jump. Yeah. Rob, I see that face.
Yeah.
He did it for a while,
that'll bring up, if we don't get another question, then we're gonna bring up maybe bridging that gap with possible classes, right?
Mhm.
I
So
would like to see
hold on.
I would like to see a street stock 2K.
Hold on. Let's get to finish up with this here. So that's
Okay.
my understanding of what we're saying. I did want to. So that was back on the moving up classes, and then we talked about maybe adding the steel cages as a limitation that's not allowed within the street stock class, right? The pro stock wall 5K.
Yeah,
Reasonable, right?
That was a thought to maybe,
Yeah.
I guess, in terms to keep it affordability, but you know,
and remember now, so Wayne's goal is not to have somebody like Gorman, Bo,
yeah,
Rob, these guys here. The whole idea is not to have them rebuild. We don't
Oh,
mind
agreed.
minor rebuilds, right? Like, oh, hey, they got to redo their baffle, or hey, but we don't want them to have to literally start from scratch, blow up that car, and start with a new vehicle, right? So,
agreed 100%. Plus, it's super street. Bo Bourne put
Yeah.
it right. It's super street.
yep.
That's right.
You know,
So, anyway, okay. So, let's see what we got on here. No, somebody did bring up one thing I did want to bring up here. Let's see. Bo suggested in the street stock or pro stock class, maybe have it one single AGM battery. That will change the dollar amount. I mean, you're talking a $300 battery versus $2,500 worth of battery, right?
oh, I agree. Yeah, that would be so. Basically, what you're saying is take pro stock 5K wall.
I
and
don't
bring
care what
back
it
to
is.
Street Max.
Yeah, that's
Mhm.
kind of what he was going at with it.
Yeah, and I like that. I like that 100% because at the end of the day, that is going to keep costs down. And, I think a lot of that is going to be, we're going to see that in the upcoming season of cost factors coming into play.
Yep. While we got a bunch more people that have popped in and are watching us now, I just want to reiterate everything that's discussed here today is purely hypothetical. We are trying to come up with things that we can tell Wayne Harris, say, hey, maybe these are good for DB Drag. We got two competitors. We got Chris Gregory. We got Rob Kollar. And we got two judges, Jeffrey and myself. And we want to have a civil discussion of potential rules that may be added to DB Drag or classes. And, hitting it from different areas because us as judges, we see things one way and competitors may see it from a different perspective, and so we're trying to find what's good and maybe hash out an idea that we can possibly give to Wayne, and that's really what we're trying to do here. So where were we at? So I wanted to talk I don't see any other real questions up here at the moment that I want to hit on. But I do, absolutely, Steve Willis chiming in. What's up, gents? Anyway, I do want to hit Sound Deadener. This is something that has plagued DB Drag. I started in DB Drag as a World Finals judge in 2005. It was an issue in 2005. Just so you guys know, I went to World Finals, and at that time, the rule was commercially available sound dampener. And I explained to one of the overseas guys that Bondo glass is not a sound dampener. It is a sound reflector. And they said, well, it's not Bondo glass, it's Magic Blue. And I'm sure Rob remembers Magic Blue. And it was Bondo glass. And they just took the label off the container and put Magic Blue on it. They sold it to one stereo shop in the UK or Netherlands or something like that. And now it was a commercially available sound deadener. Then we kind of, let's see here. Oh, bass race song. We'll get to that. Anyway, yeah, Steve Willis says, yeah, it was magic.
Magic.
I mean, Jeffrey will tell you when he competed, they literally ripped the skin off the vehicle and filled it with concrete. So, I mean, but were you guys in front of the B pillar, Jeffrey, with that too, or no, or just above the box?
With concrete?
Yeah.
It was basically behind the B pillar
Okay.
on top of the box.
Yeah. So, I mean, these guys were doing it, and our sound deadener rule was whatever, 5 millimeters or whatever it was. And so they literally put strips inside there that were 5 millimeters, and then they would just screed in the Bondo glass and then pull out the strips. There you go. It's 5 millimeters. That's what they did. And we came back the very next year, and I told them, I says, hey, it's not a personal thing. I just think this is a gross a gross violation of the rules. I think this is nothing but you trying to circumvent rules. And we had a judge's discussion. We changed the rule. Once the rule got changed, there was literally a picture of them, because this was before there was videos and stuff on Facebook and YouTube and stuff. Pictures of them jackhammering out the Bondo glass with a freaking full-size jackhammer out of the tops of their cars. You know, so that's where sound deadener, we've had it as bad as that. This year, somebody had, I bet it had to be 5 inches of sound deadener on their floor.
Easy.
And firewall.
Well, the firewall.
More,
that's what I mean.
A lot more than that on the firewall.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
So, how do we police it? How do we fix it? Competitors, give me something.
There's no way to police it. I mean, it's organizations have been trying to police it, like you said, since 2005. You know, and the simple fact of it is that literally you would have to take every vehicle, pull the carpet, start having vehicle specifications to how where the floorboard starts and where the deadener ends, and then you can start doing measurements.
Well,
and
not really, because I mean, even a Panda.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a Panda, there's plenty of pictures of Pandas and what the interior looks like. Look up interior pictures, Terras, Couriers, Mazdas,
right.
CRXs. There's pictures. So if you can look in there and look and see that the firewall is 10 inches deep, when it's supposed to be, it's supposed to be, then it's a no-go.
Yep.
The floors, if you take Panda, if you take a Terra by a Terra.
No, hold on. So 10 inches deep. Is 9 inches deep okay?
No.
Okay, hold on.
You've got to have a limit.
Yeah, I understand that. So where does that limit become? Because if we say 3 layers of deadener, right? Then I got to go in there, and every car that has deadener, I got to peel back and check that you're not more than 3 layers, right?
Okay.
So that's what our rule was before. You remember that, right? It was 3 layers.
Yep.
And so what happened was somebody would do 3 layers, and then they would overlap a 4th layer, and not intentionally by any means, but, they would, I got another inch or 3/4 of an inch, and they just overlap. Well, we would have to find that, cut it off, and put everything back together, right?
Yeah, but I'm not saying measurements. Don't worry about measurements.
Okay.
If you look at one guy's car and you look at the other guy's car, and we'll use me and Gorman.
Okay.
Because our cabins are very similar.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at mine, from the front of my dash to where the deadener is 8 inches.
Uh-huh.
And then you go look at Bo or Gorman's, and his is 14 inches deep. Okay, it doesn't look OEM no more.
Understand it. Okay. So when do I say that's too much as a judge? So this is where us as judges are having our issue, right? Because if a 1/4 inch is okay, is a 1/2 inch okay? If a 1/2 inch is okay, is 3/4 too gay? Okay, 3/4 isn't okay. Does that mean 5/8 is okay? I mean, you got to make a limit, right? Just like a speed, right? If you say the road's open, then people are going to go 130 miles an hour. They're going to go 30 miles an hour on that same road.
Yeah.
I, in my opinion, where the sound editor is, okay, like I said, this is 100% my opinion. Um, if your carpet doesn't go back in the exact same position it was, it's a no-go.
But you
Then you're
can't do that.
requiring. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Rob.
My truck didn't. My truck didn't come with a carpet.
There
Exactly.
you go.
Then you're requiring people to have factory carpet, which
No, no,
you
no.
know.
If it had carpet, right? So he doesn't have carpet, but they did make a flooring available, right?
Yeah, you can buy an aftermarket
Right.
rubber flooring.
Rubber flooring. So as long as it went back into where it would be as a factory position. So in Rob's case, if that was the rule, is what I'm saying is the rule, he would be limited to maybe one layer of sound dampening on your floor. So, now remember, we're talking, this is possibly an extreme, right? This is an extreme case, right? Because you don't have flooring. Where somebody like Chris's car, it's got jute and it's got sound deadener in the car factory. So he's got 3/4 of an inch that he can build up with Dynamatic Stream, right? How is that fair from one car to the next, right? So, I mean, any suggestions on how we say what's yes, what's no?
I mean, I don't really, because I think at the end of the day, there's too many what ifs. There's nothing concrete.
Right.
And that's what scares me, is ever building a rule book or making a rule that is just gray. It needs to be black or white, because when it's gray, oh, you know as well as I do, there are some people out there that live in the gray.
So,
oh hell yeah.
Okay, no, I understand that, and I mean, look at our nation alone, right? The United States. I mean, our law books are multiple volumes that are 8 inches thick. And that's just on a federal level. That doesn't even include local or state or and so with that being said, remember, we want these competitions to be fun. You go to a 3X and I got to go through a book that's 8 inches thick.
No.
I mean, what am I going to do, right? So we got to come up with something. And in my opinion, there's the ultimate rule in the rule book. Head judge has final say on all calls. Now, and this is the only thing that's kind of iffy on DB Drag, but I do appreciate it, is just because it was legal at Rob Kollar's T.W.I.C.A.S, Kollar's Callouts, it was, somebody deemed it legal. Then they show up to World Finals, and judges there say no.
And that's a problem. That's a huge problem.
That is a huge problem, and I feel we as judges in DB Drag specifically, because I don't deal with the other organizations, but I feel we as judges have been mitigating that problem at a very high level for a very long time. I think we do really good job on that. And like I said, it's nothing against any other organization or anything like that. I just think, we do talk a lot amongst each other. The sound deadener installation was a huge discussion for us. And also with me, I believe I'm a big proponent of the U.S. and what we do. Okay. So I fully 100% believe that we as judges, Jeffrey in Texas, me in California, we're like appellate judges. We're 9th Circuit, 4th Circuit, 8th Circuit judges. And so we come up, we're Supreme Court. Yeah, we're 3X judges. We're Supreme Court judges, but we're appellate Supreme Court, right? So we're lower level. Then you come to World Finals. Now we got all the appellate judges in one location, and we come up with a Supreme Court ruling that we all agree to and come to a consensus. And that's the way I look at our judging circle. It may be wrong, but I believe that's how we judge our stuff. And I think that's the best we can do as human for one, so we all make errors. Um, if I was judging in Rob's area, how many times has whoever judges Rob's vehicle seen Rob's vehicle? If he added 2 layers of Dynamat every show, they would never know, right? I mean, it, they wouldn't know until they knew. And so, I mean, how do we mitigate that? That's my question.
Well, it's the problem is that's going to be hard.
It
but
is.
I can tell you this. I can guarantee you this right now. That vehicles like mine that had a 18-inch footwell, this year will have a 4-inch footwell because there's no rule. It's unlimited deadener.
I agree.
And that's what's going to happen. And then you're going to have a whole bunch of super street extreme vehicles.
Yep. And I will.
It's already started.
And I will tell you, as DB drag judges, and that is not what we want. And so we are looking at ways to mitigate it. And right now we don't have one, right? And that's one of the things I would love. That's one of the things I want to have about this. This is what we want to talk about. Is hopefully come with a way, because we as judges, we're not all looking at every vehicle the same. And then when you go overseas, then you got a whole bunch of different judges. And the problem with some of the overseas judges is that they interpret their rule book, and they might not catch. We do our best not to add any nuance in the rule book, but when they translate it, translate something to Spanish and tell me it's the same thing, right? Translate something to Russian and tell me it means the same thing. You can only do so well when you're translating and you're doing a direct translation. So that becomes an issue, and that's why we have World Finals. That's why Ray Choi travels the world. I'm going to retire in a few years. I'll start traveling the world to help with judging, in different places. Jeffrey's traveled quite a few places to help with judging for that same reason.
I just got my passport too.
There you go.
So I'm ready to go.
But anyway, like I said, if somebody has a suggestion for the sound deadener, what they think would be realistic, dude, we would love to hear it.
Yeah.
Because realistically, when we have our judges discussions, I promise you, we are trying our best to make it as fair as we possibly can. And I know these guys specifically realize that we are doing our best at making it as fair of a competition as we possibly can. So anyway, the sound deadener, I don't see a solution to that in that discussion at all. I will tell you, we are working on it, and I don't know how to make that work.
There's somebody got to be. Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, no, I was gonna, since we can't seem to really figure out the deadener thing, I was gonna throw something out there that I think the guys in California may enjoy. So maybe get Doug's opinion on this. Something I mentioned to Wayne last year. Cyclone demo is only going to grow, and it is growing by leaps and bounds. What do y'all think about a pro stock Cyclone demo class and then a no wall separating the two?
So,
do you think it would be worth it?
Jeffrey, do you have a thought on this? I do, but do you have one?
I think with that regard, I think the classes how they are now, you want to you're going away from the DB drag format, so you're entering Cyclone.
Yeah.
And I don't want to fill it up too much with different classes like pro stock. I do like it kind of like the grassroots of sound off competitions, either wall or no wall. I like that feature of it. And I also like the big scores with the low frequencies. Everybody likes to see that too. I think by adding maybe pro stock, like 5K or something like that to it, would kind of like you're regressing from that. It's totally fine. You could still do pro stock. and we have formats for that. We've got DB drag, and then we have freestyle. But I think Cyclone in itself should be, somewhat for no wall. It's a place for the demo guys to play.
Yep.
So
Okay.
I mean that would be my opinion.
I see your point.
Okay, so we got Jose Ramos. He's popped in, world record holder for both demo no wall and demo wall, right? So he holds both those records, and I have one of the biggest areas for the Cyclone guys for sure, right? I mean, a regular show I've got 7 guys to 12 guys doing Cyclone. Okay?
Oh, I agree with your statement wholeheartedly.
Yeah. So with that being said, look at the scores. The scores are less than 5%. From the top guy to we're talking world record holder right here in California. The guy that got last place in every one of his classes is about 5 to 7% lower than him. That's dead last with a huge field. That to me tells me that particular format is well developed. And that's just my opinion. Anything towards that, Rob, or indifferent on that particular class?
Well, on the yes and no. The Cyclone, it's cool.
Mm-hmm.
I do have a recommendation for something different.
Okay.
DB drag.
Whether
Whether it's 1 or 2, 3, 4 classes, wouldn't be no more than that. We need bracketed 30-second music runs, like similar to bass race, but you don't have to have a certain number. You have 30 seconds to achieve the average number.
So that's how.
And a bracket.
So we actually pioneered a class called Street Beat. You may have heard of it from a different organization.
Yeah.
But we were running a thing called Street Beat, and it was based on subwoofer and amplified power, because that's how we did classes back when we did this. And you had to play music for the 30 seconds, and it wasn't a 30-second average, which was kind of hard because you just had to turn it up for, half a second and get your score. But if it was a 30-second average of music
and brackets,
bracket, yes.
Oh, dude,
that is not.
I wanted freestyle to become.
That is not a bad thing. Hey, guys, I'm just telling you, we got about 8 minutes left on this thing, and I know we can do this. And you know what?
For hours.
Hey, so to be totally honest, I would love to see if we can get you guys, not next week, because I got the Mellows Toys for Tots guys coming on next week. So not next week for this, but I would love to have this little thing again the week after. And that way it gives everybody 2 weeks to come up with maybe suggestions or something. And because I think this is a great forum to do something like this. I mean, I don't know anybody that would disagree. Anyway, I want to pull up what Tiffany said here right now. She's out of Bridgetown, Barbados. And she said, maybe a pre-qualifying event for World Finals competitors and officiated by a specific group of judges to ensure the compliance of the rules. Obviously, it's a bit more complicated than that I can state in this forum, but something to consider. So, Tiffany, you guys are new to DB Drag. That is exactly the premise of what becomes a 3X judge. That's why there's only, 5 of us that are 3X certified, Jeffrey? Or 6 maybe?
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Even fewer at the 4X level.
Yeah, and even fewer at the 4X level. And that's part of that whole process. I mean, go to one of Jeffrey's shows, go to one of my shows, and you will see the level of scrutiny on a vehicle. Jeffrey, I haven't watched him in a while other than at World Finals, and at World Finals I'm really busy. But if you go to one of my multi-point events, it doesn't even look like I'm looking at the cars, but I promise you, I'm looking at your car. When I go to sit in the car to put in the meter, I'm looking around. If you watch my head and my eyes, I'm going through all of this stuff, and I'm looking, hey, is this here? Is that there? And then I wait for your number. When I go to pull the meter out of your car, I mean, you can ask anybody that's been at a world record level. I think Kyle's been I don't think he was there, but definitely like Steve Willis. I'll say, hey, maybe this, or hey, we might have to look at this a little more before World Finals, and stuff like that. And that's for people that have serious numbers, because I don't need to hold up a show for a guy doing a 140 because he's got too much deadener in his car, right? He's not winning anything at World Finals.
Mhm.
So that's kind of how I approach it. And I'll mention, hey, you know what? Yeah, you probably shouldn't be doing this and that. So just thoughts, like I said, on the way I run my shows and what can be done. Oh, Darren popped in. He's out of
Trinidad.
Trinidad. Yep. So he's one of the judges out of Trinidad. He popped in today. Kyle Rhodes loves the +1 on the bracketed music runs.
That's what I wanted freestyle to be. But Wayne was like, "Oh, I don't know." But dude, that would be an awesome format to turn freestyle into. I think it would increase the output. I agree with Rob. I think we would see a lot of competitors that would get involved in it.
Yep.
Heck, I'd build something for it.
Real quick, Tiffany, yes, you are required to go to a multi-point event before you can compete at World Finals. So that is correct. Yeah, you know what? What I missed, a lot of talk about Cyclone. That's what you missed. We were talking about some of the DB drag stuff for Jose, sound deadener rules, moving up in class, possibly not being allowed, not only if you're a champion, but also the world record holder. So potentially two vehicles a year may have to move up in class. That's, I think, a pretty good breakdown of everything that we've talked about today. You guys got any suggestions for base race maybe, or
Just one quick one, and this
sure.
is what a lot of people are telling me.
Music.
5i59.9.
Okay.
Hello 119.9.
On a judging standpoint, have you ever? So I've worked with the code on Wayne's system. Have you ever tried to meter a car around the 119.9?
Yeah, we actually have a competitor. We actually have a guy that our bowling team coach. He base races his factory sound system. You doing it?
Yes. No. So I completely understand what that 100%. But do you realize how inaccurate and how not good the meter is at 119.9?
But we're not getting the support of 59.9, and I feel like, no offense, and I love him to death. Jimbo's my boy. He is my boy, and we love him to death. But he's the only. I mean, until we get more people involved, it's just kind of a.
So here would be my suggestion in that, right? It takes 4 people to make a class at World Finals, or 5. We can say, hey, it's going to take 5 people to make a class. Base race, there's hundreds and hundreds of people competing in it a year. If we can't get 5 in a class at World Finals, it doesn't deserve to be in finals. My opinion.
I agree with that.
For base race, you only have a handful of classes, and you have hundreds of people worldwide that do it. And not only that, but every single one of those people potentially could win World Finals. Mm-hmm. Just because I'm going against Chris doesn't mean I can't win World Finals. Just because I'm going against Nyman. Nyman, number 1 guy in the world for wins. Brian Nyman. Just because you're going against him doesn't mean you can't beat him. It's going to be harder, don't get me wrong, but he loses. Nobody's got a perfect record in base race.
Agreed. So that's what I love about it.
So anyway, Bubba, get rid of mandatory boom check and allow big pimping for base race. And if you leave your car running at 139, leave your car running in the 139 and above classes at finals. So let me hit those real quick. We want to keep the music consistent. If we added big pimpin', we would have to get licensing agreements from whoever the artist is for big pimpin'. Not easy to do. The boom check songs are super smooth, super easy to use. If you're having a hard time with the boom check songs, get with somebody that actually knows anything about him. To be honest with you, I ran a car last year. We have a thing called Beat the Boss. I jump in the car. It doesn't matter whose car it is, whoever's in the lane, and I use their car and I base race. I went 129.9 straight. Held for 11 seconds in a guy's car that couldn't get the song to save his life. And I held 129.9 straight for 11 seconds. I was like, dude, there's no way I wouldn't destroy everybody in this car. So, like I said, yeah, Bubba's just saying he doesn't have a problem with it, but 90% of the complaints he sees, that's what they are. And also, like I said, so he was asking Dave was asking if Big Pimpin' was on the 2019. I don't think it was it?
No, it wasn't.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Those tracks are more or less a tone with a break.
Yeah.
That's all they are.
And I mean, realistically, boom check is too. It's just got two tones. It's got two tones.
It's got that frequency jump.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
Big Pimpin' doesn't have that at all. It's just more or less with a break, with a break. I did all when Wayne and I were working on the software. I got all the test sessions, and those tracks. It was just straight tone. You can look at it on the oscilloscope.
Yeah. And like I said, I think boom check is a reasonable. I mean, everybody in California, if you come and learn, I think you said in Tennessee, same thing. Hey, right off the bat, I'm giving you boom check. Well, let me pick.
That's what we do.
No, I promise you, boom check is what you're going to want to do. Dave McKay says the people that want it bad enough will figure it out if they want base race bad enough.
Bingo.
So, because ultimately, it doesn't matter what organization you're in, what format you're competing in, they all set a box. Wherever that box is, if you want to play in the organization, you have to stay within that box. I mean, ultimately, that's what doesn't matter if it's USAC. I ask, what's Base Wars or something like that's a newer one, right? And then what was the Audio Olympics that we saw yesterday? USAC. But anyway, like I said, those are the things we got going on. I personally thought this was a great conversation tonight. Hope you guys did too. Hope you guys had a great time.
Really enjoyed it.
But I'm at my 1 hour and 2 minutes, and I got to be at the bowling alley in 20 minutes to start bowling, and I got to sell brackets, and I got to make my money. I always got a side hustle on. So, real quick, I want to thank you guys. Rob, tell us about your show behind you, real quick.
April 1st this year, Kollar Call Out number 3 this year. Instead of a local organization to donate our raffle money to, it's going to the EOD Warriors Foundation, Explosive Ordnance. Big down here. So that's what we're going to go with. We're going to try to expand and try to get more people involved and see if we could we raised $4,000 last year for a local one. Next year we want to do $8,000 for them.
All right, Jeffrey, talk about what's behind you.
Okay, so I got the flyer behind me. It's going to be the Toys for Tots event, and it's going to be the 8th annual Toys for Tots event at Tune Time Stereo and Alarm in Redlands, California, co-sponsored by Gorilla Hertz. So for those of you that don't know, Toys for Tots events, basically it's a DB Drag sanctioned event, and instead of paying money for registration, you would bring in a toy valued at $20 or more to be donated for the Toys for Tots program, and it'll get you to compete in the event. We've done this, like I said, 8 years now at Tune Time, and we're going to be doing it again this weekend. I'm going to make my trip out to California again, which you don't have to twist my arm about. I'm just looking for a reason to go back to SoCal to do an event, anyways, and have it at Mike's shop at Tune Time Stereo. 8 years running is just awesome, and hope to see everybody out there. I think in one podcast I was telling people you don't have to limit yourself just to one toy. Bring as many as you want. it's going for a worthy cause. It's going to that child who would have probably, had a Christmas without having a Christmas gift. So just knowing that, you're donating a toy for that,
Mm-hmm.
it makes everyone feel good inside. So,
Yep. I mean, I went down there and did events for him too before you were a judge. So I mean, he's a
right. Yeah.
huge supporter of DB
Mhm.
Drag, probably one of the longest standing DB Drag supporters, at least down in SoCal for sure.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm. Oh, yeah.
yeah, always support the people that support what you love to do, right? So,
Exactly.
what about you, Mr. Gregory?
We start up our cash days season next year in March.
Mm-hmm.
We finished up our Toys for Tots event last weekend with 14 boxes collected.
Awesome.
Wow.
It's a good number for us. And yeah, we start up with cash days in March, and our first 2X is high voltage in East Tennessee.
All right, very cool. And for those people that don't know, so next weekend's mine and my wife's 30th anniversary, so I will be out of town next weekend. And then after that, which will be the 11th, Sunday, December 11th, we'll be once again at Nyman's. Remember the one who started this whole thing with the
Yeah.
Toys for Tots for DB Drag? It's been his 13th or 14th year consecutive.
Wow.
COVID didn't even stop us. And we have a Toys for Tots every year. We gain thousands and thousands of dollars on the raffle. We usually have two trailer fulls of toys to take. We go to the Shriners and we go to the battered women's shelter with those toys. It's a great event. So if you guys want to be part of that and want to come in, like Jeffrey said, it's not just one toy. I mean, shoot, I'm not going to turn you away if you want to compete and you only brought one toy. I'm not going to turn you away, but know that people are going to look at you sideways because you got $15,000 in your stereo system and you're not even willing to support, a child that doesn't even have a toy. So,
I had a guy show up with $100 worth of Hot Wheels, the single Hot Wheels cars.
there you go.
$100 worth.
Yep, and
Wow.
and I will tell you at the Nyman's event, people just show up left and right. People that haven't competed in years. We got Bill Johnson and Melissa Johnson, and they just show up and they just bring handfuls of toys, and that's where they give them, and they aren't competing at all. So we got people that used to compete that bring toys and all that stuff. So hey, if you guys are anywhere near Sacramento on the 11th. Come on by and participate in Nyman's Mellows Auto Toys for Tots. I think it's your 13th or 14th year, so please come by and check it out. Anyway, guys, are you guys good for 2 weeks from now?
Sure.
Rob's good. Greg's good. Hey, guys, hit up your buddies, Rob and Greg,
Yeah.
Jeffrey or myself, and let's make this a real good conversation. And actually, I might be able to grab Ray Choi might be available, he said. He's not sure, but Ray Choi may be available, and also possibly Wyatt or Chet, and maybe grab another judge just to kind of bounce some ideas off of. And we might have a couple of these definitely during the off season. We have a couple of we have a month or so where we don't have a handful of shows, and maybe just talk about this stuff and try and get it hashed out because we want the organization to be better for everybody. So
Definitely.
Yeah, and we've always have technically an open forum where people would voice their opinion or suggestions with rules. It's not just every December is when we do it. It's throughout the year, and we always take in consideration what works, what doesn't work, and we're not trying to be hard about things. We just want to be able to make things fair for everyone, so everyone could have a place to play and and have fun, basically.
And also remember, when you guys make these suggestions and whatnot, this is a international organization. So we have people in Brazil, we have people in Trinidad, potentially people in Barbados, people in all of Europe. We have people in Russia, we have people in Ukraine, we have people in China, Japan. It's been a minute since we've had Australia, right?
Yeah.
So we have people all over the world that compete, and we got to take into consideration the vehicle conditions that they have in those countries also. So, All right, guys. Once again, I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Awesome discussion. A last minute for Chris and Rob to jump in. I think you guys did an awesome job. I hope you had a good time.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate you.
Jeffrey, as always, great job, sir. And we'll see you guys next week on This Week in Car Audio. Peace. 5:30 California time, the only time that does matter. We are out of here.